Hey guys, so one thing I've been thinking a lot about here in the last week or so, and I've got some questions about, is what are the tools that you use on campaigns that you think are critical to getting things done and winning on election day? And there's so many different tools out there, all kinds of web applications, software as a service platforms. There's a ton of stuff, and I know that I fall into that trap a lot, where I'll have different apps that I use, and I'll adopt them for a little bit, and they'll fall by the wayside. Either because I don't fully adopt them because my attention span is too low, or because they're not really the right fit for me. And I'll talk about some places to go to look for other apps that may be useful to you down the line at the end of this broadcast. But right now I want to talk about 6 things that I think you've got to use if you want to win your next campaign. I use them all the time in and out of campaign season, and I think you ought to check them out first of all. All right, so number 1 is Google Drive. A lot of people have it, most people have Gmail. They've used it in some capacity, but I'll tell you what, there are a few things that have more potential that a lot of folks aren't using to their full potential than Google Drive. We use it on the My Campaign Coach team for everything from housing our minutes from meetings and notes we take when we're having team meetings. We use it for all of our spreadsheets and reports. We have a ton of tools we've created that we use on every different time we go through a class, every class we develop. And so we have all those systems and processes all together in one place where we can go. If I'm onboarding a new staff member, it's easy. I can give them access to certain things. I can hold them out of others. And so it's great. We use it for everything from HR, tracking to payroll, housing all of our documents, all of our podcast information, all the graphics we build there. It's just awesome. So you need to not just have a Google Drive or Google Suites account, but use it. It's great. Make sure you don't have thousands of emails and different versions of documents going around. You can do track changes and suggestions all through that. So Google Drive is number 1. You got to use it. 2 is Campaign Sidekick. If you listen to the podcast, you hear me talk about that some. And I'm one of the guys that's been helping build Campaign Sidekick for years. If you want to win an election, you got to talk to voters. And the gold standard when it comes to that is absolutely door-to-door and over-the-phone contact. You got to look someone in the eyeballs, talk to them on the phone, and communicate why you as a voter or volunteer or staff member believe this candidate needs to be elected. You got to be able to listen to them and hear what's going on. So Campaign Sidekick is critical. We make it really easy for you to do something that has been at times very difficult before a lot of this technology took place. It takes care of your routing. It takes care of all of your tracking down to where your volunteers and where your staff are standing. Literally shows you a snapshot of where they're at when they're entering data. And it makes that whole process of aggregating the data, delivering your block walkers to the door, changing your scripts, getting your reports done, all that's taken care of for you and made very, very easy. So Campaign Sidekick is the number 2 app that you've got to have. And if you want to check that out, go to campaignsidekick.vote to find out more information about it, or ping me and I'll be happy to give you a demo. 3rd is a tool called Canva. That's canva.com. And this was developed as kind of a sort of a poor man's Adobe Photoshop. And what's really cool about this is it's a free tool. You can do a paid version. It's kind of that freemium model. But Canva is what I use for all of my graphics. If you see a graphic pop up from the podcast to a little meme that I created, it's all in Canva, and I do every bit of it for free. I think I've paid like $1 for a special graphic that I wanted to make and a little image that was that cost a little bit in my whole time of using Canva for several years. If you take that and use it in combination with some of the free photo and icon and logo platforms out there, you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. And it's really a great sandbox. It's got easy templates to use. They have layouts that they suggest or have available to you. And so it's really cool. It's easy to get to know. You're not talking about all kinds of layers and weird stuff like in Photoshop, which has quite a learning curve. This is easy. And there's tons of YouTube tutorials and everything out there to make Canva a really easy platform for you to adopt. It lets you save all your designs and have them there. You can use them as templates. Like for instance, on every podcast episode, I have a very similar graphic that I change out a couple things on to make them all look uniform. And so you can have a template that you basically repurpose over and over again in order to make that easy and recognizable to your audience, to always have your logo or your website, your specific campaign colors or logo colors in there. So Canva is number 3. You got to use it. Number 4, one of the biggest problems in campaigns is scheduling. So this is something, whether it's in my work, getting podcast scheduled and doing interviews and doing kind of conversation with people and just meetings or phone calls, it can be difficult. Not just finding the time in your schedule, but making sure it works for both of you, right? We've all had those email chains where we have 3 or 4 or more emails going back and forth trying to figure out when can we actually get together on each other's calendars. So what I do is I use Calendly.com, Calendly, that's .ly, and I think Calendly.com takes you to there as well. And what's great about that is I can program in my schedule. So based on my Apple or Google Drive or my Google Calendar, it's going to know when I'm available and when I'm not. And I can set custom times. I can even say, hey, don't book more than 3 of this type of event per day. And I can say, I want to have a 45-minute buffer built in. So make sure I have 45 minutes ahead of it and after it to get to and from. You can set up all kinds of events. It's also a freemium model. You can do a lot for free, but if you do it like $10 or $15 a month, you can have the paid version, which gives you a little more customization. All of your response emails that go back to folks, you can have more customization there. You can take their logo off and put yours on, and you can have more event types. So like I have 15-minute phone call events that if that's all I need with somebody, I just send them that link. And if I want to schedule a podcast interview with somebody, I send them another link. So I have a bunch of different event types, and depending on what type of interaction I'm looking for, if I don't want or can't afford the time to go back and forth on 4 emails, which nobody does, if I don't want to do that, then I can send them that link. I just copy and paste it in there, tell them, hey, you pick a time. Here's my calendar. Here's the times that I'm available. And boom, you've got it taken care of. They select a time, you get an email, and you're good to go. A location, everything is taken care of in there. So Calendly is definitely a resource you got to check out. Next is LastPass. So every time you're working a campaign, whether it's to a volunteer or somebody's helping you out, to a vendor, you got a lot of passwords and you're having to give access to stuff that it's sensitive in nature. It could be your email address and your email password. It could be your WordPress or website login. But there's a ton of sensitive stuff there, and most of the time people just pass those out, and they know they're not being secure about it. They know it's not a good idea, but they don't have an alternative that's easy. And that's really what it comes down to, is having an easy alternative that lets you not waste time trying to make a new login or any of that. So LastPass.com is what I use for that purpose. So you go there, it's also a freemium model. Most of it's for free, and that's the version that I use. I don't do the paid version. It allows you to save your logins. And so like with Chrome, which is the browser that I use, I'm able to have a plugin there which lets it pull it just like out of your Apple keychain or out of your saved logins that your browser may do by itself. But what it does is it has a master password you can make very secure. It'll make suggestions on more secure passwords. If you're using a password too frequently, you can have all your different logins housed here with one uber secure password. And then if you want to share that with somebody, you can email them access and share that to their LastPass account. Just have them create one, and then you're able to share that. And what's cool is they don't actually get your password. They encrypt that, and so when they copy and paste that password in or they access it through their LastPass account, you're able to actually, they never know what your password is. So if you want to lock them out or change a password or limit their access, you're able to know, and you're able to know when they log in, etc. So it gives me a whole lot more peace of mind when I think about who's going to have my password to critical things, or that maybe they're going to do something wrong, or their computer get hacked, because that's an increasing problem. So that helps me with when I'm talking about sensitive stuff that I work hard on and that I want to be careful about to make sure that folks are doing things right and keeping my information secure. The last one is probably the least people would have thought about. I'm interested to see how many of these you guys had thought about beforehand. But the last one I mentioned is I want to preface a little bit. And this is because one of the things that you can run people into the ground the hardest during a campaign is to get sick. If you're not taking care of yourself physically on the campaign trail, you're gonna do a bad job. You might end up in a situation kind of like what I'm recovering from, where you lose your voice, you get sick for a couple of days. I was down for nearly a week, and my voice is still sound like I'm a 2-pack-a-day smoker. So if you're going to be using you gotta do things on the campaign trail to take care of yourself, because if you don't make it through this marathon, you're not going to get there. You're not going to get the votes necessary. So what I use a Fitbit. So both the app and the bracelet, the watch I use, and that tracks all my vital stats. Tracks my average resting heart rate. It tracks my exercise. Tracks my sleep. Because I'll tell you what, sleep is one of the most important things on a campaign trail. You're going to work hard, long hours, whether you're the candidate or whether you're a volunteer or a staff member, and you got to get enough sleep. If you're running yourself on 4 hours of sleep for a long time, it's going to catch up with you. You're going to get sick. You're going to get in trouble. And so using Fitbit, you can track your activity to make sure you're exercising enough, you're staying healthy on that front. You can even use other applications to track your calorie intake and stuff to make sure you're not putting on a campaign 20, which is worse than the freshman 15, I'll tell you that, because I've gained and lost that several times. But if you actually go in there and you track your information, it gives you the power to make sure and look on a dashboard and look on your app on your phone and say, okay, I'm getting at least a bare minimum sleep. I'm at least getting 6-7 hours on average, which is 6 hours about what I average. You're getting good sleep. You're getting enough activity, and it really helps you keep yourself accountable with being healthy and making good habits throughout the campaign trail, because your health is ultimately what's going to be the biggest determinant in your ability to act long term. So you got to make sure you're taking care of that health. So quick recap. Number one, use Google Drive. Use that to organize all of your documents, all of your storage, and make sure everything's accessible and always going between computers or team members. It's always there. I got this laptop I'm recording on. I've got an iPhone. I've got my desktop. I've got team members across the country, and they're accessible anytime to any one of them that I allow access to. So definitely use Google Drive. Number two is Campaign Sidekick. If you need to talk to voters, Campaign Sidekick is the tool that's going to give you the ability to easily identify who they are, to quickly deploy your folks to talk to them, and accurately use that information that comes back to make sure that you take them from identification to persuasion on through get out the vote. Number three is going to be canva.com, using that as a tool to help make your graphics and illustrations, memes, and all those things something that's visually appealing and easy to create. Number four is going to be calendly.com. And Calendly is the tool that I use for scheduling and making sure that I have to do as few emails back and forth with somebody to get us on the same page to schedule a meeting or an event or just a phone call. So Calendly is what I use for that. Next is LastPass. Keep all your information, all your passwords and logins secure, but you can still easily share those with your teammates and anybody else who's working with you, vendors, etc. So make sure you check out LastPass.com for that. And lastly, Fitbit. Make sure you're staying healthy on the campaign trail and that you're keeping yourself accountable to put your health first so that you can finish the marathon that is the campaign, because it's definitely not a sprint. Now, most of those are free. Google Drive's free. Canva has a free version as well as paid. So does LastPass and Calendly. You can use the Fitbit app for free. You can buy one of their trackers that have different prices there. And Campaign Sidekick I think it's about the most reasonably priced platform on the market, and it's priced to fit your campaign size. So these are all very cost-effective applications that are going to supercharge your campaign as you go into it. And I think you ought to seriously think about using all 6 of these, because they're really important and they literally help me every single day. I hope you guys will respond to comments with what your favorite app is, if you've got one of these you use, or maybe there's another application, because there's lots of them out there. What's your favorite one to use in the campaign, and why does that make a difference for you when you come down to that final stretch? I hope you guys have a great week. Make sure you go to our actual website, mycampaigncoach.com, and subscribe to our email list. We have several free downloads there. You subscribe and you get that free download. And every single week, we're sending out some of the top content we create, as well as stuff that we find online that we think will be helpful to you guys as you're trying to become better and build a better campaign. Y'all have a great day, and we'll talk to y'all again soon.